Yeah. So first off, shout out to all the subscribers. Appreciate you guys. Much love. Today I'm doing Train Track Thursday from Monte. So sorry for the noise. There's a lot of dogs out here, for real. Like everybody in Monte has dogs. It's pretty crazy. But what I want to do is I want to talk about staff in Nelles, like memorable staff. And the reason I'm going to talk about Nelles is because that's where I spent the majority of my time. So that's why I remember more, right? So first step, I'd say when I rode up to Truman, right? As soon as I got to Truman, there were these two staff that fucking got on my goddamn nerves. Name was Hudson and Ross. And the reason why they got on my nerves is because they talked to us like we were children. Keep it simple, Junior. Keep it simple, Junior. Like, I used to fucking hate that. You know what's crazy about one thing, real quick? Look, I'm not lying. You got motherfucking cans everywhere over here. Motherfuckers just throw them on the ground. It's a trip. But yeah, fuck it. So they used to say, keep it down, Junior. Keep it down, Junior. And they really, like, they treat us like little kids, which how we should have been treated. But because I had that ego and I thought I was a grown man, that shit used to really fucking get on my nerves. So they were the first ones I saw that were like kind of memorable and shit, right? Other staff members, when I got to Hayes, there was a guy named Guerra. And let me actually break it down. I'm tripping. Let me break it down real fast. So there were different kind of staff. There was YCOs, which is youth correctional officers. That's basically like security and shit. And YCC, youth correctional counselors. The youth correctional counselors wore their street clothes. And they basically wrote reports on you and shit like that, right? And then you had PAs, the parole agents, and they actually went to board with you. And they made the recommendations. That's what we have. The two I brought up so far are YCCs, youth correctional counselors. And then you got, then you had Guerra in Hayes. Guerra was a trip because he was a Vietnam vet. He was from Maravilla, older cat. And he would always like kind of talk down on people sometimes, like be like, you're gonna end up dead or in jail, you're not gonna make it out there and shit like that, right? But he was cool because he would bring us movies all the time. Every night was movie night when Guerra was there, and that shit was cool. And there was no like phase one to go down. Everybody got to watch movies, and that shit was cool as fuck. That shit kind of changed after when Miss Pratty came. Miss Pratty was fucking annoying too. Like, she tried to implement that shit like phase ones go down, and that shit sucks for phase ones because most of us didn't have canteen anyway, right? So they left us without canteen. They left us without fucking movie night, and we're like, man, fuck this shit. So we just made the dorm rowdy as fuck. Like, man, fuck you guys, right? So you had that. Who else was there? Fucking in Monroe, they ended up switching that shit back to intake when I was there. So when I got there, it was Washington staff, but they ended up changing a lot of them and brought in the former Monroe staff. Fuck, shit, it's a bitch. Yeah, and one of the staff that I remember was this fool named Castro, because he was like a straight case. I'm across the street, there's more motherfucking room on the other side. Was Castro, right? Castro was a straight fucking case. That fool had like no respect, none at all. He would say something and fools would just laugh at him like, fuck your dead shit, Castro. And like, he would just get pressured. You could tell he'd be pressured. And the other staff would kind of egg him on, like, you got to do something. You can't let him talk to you like that. But he had, like, he didn't know what to do. He had no say-so. You know what I mean? So it was fucked up. Honestly, it was. But that was Castro and shit. And then there was a cool cat named Davis. Davis was like a cool motherfucker, right? Like, if you got down, boom, 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 he would walk up and he would shake his pepper spray and say, like, y'all better be done by the time I get over there. Because he didn't want to spray you. And if he did, he's going to fuck you up. So it's like he'll let you get your issue. So he would walk slow, too. Walk slow, letting you get over there. And then when he told you stop, just stop. Most people stopped because they got their issue in. And if they wanted to do it again, they'll do it again another day. Because Davis was cool like that. Maybe that's not, I don't know. Maybe it's not too cool, but like looking back now. But back then, we thought that was pretty cool and shit. You know what I mean? And because he didn't want to write that fucking report, spraying motherfuckers and shit. So that shit was a trip, man. Davis was there. When I got to Nixon, I don't remember any of the staff. I remember there was Arce, on Taft, Arce, and then you also had Negrete, who they said was from my neighborhood. He was cool as fuck too. Negrete was cool. And then when I got to, actually one time, Negrete organized for us to all meet up, all the homies and shit, to meet up. Not all of us, but the majority of us, and he pulled us out. That was real fucking cool. Yeah, so that was a trip. When I got to Tyler, it was a trip because the first staff I met, and it was crazy because I had came from Nixon, which wasn't common back then. Normally, Tyler's pre-parole. You're not going to Tyler. You're not going to Tyler if you came from Nixon. You're not going directly from Nixon to Tyler. That's not going to happen, right? But I told them that was probably the best option for me. So they sent me to fucking Tyler. And the first one I met was Dusty. Called him Dusty. And it was fucked up. I heard that's not even his name. I think they just called him Dusty because he looked all dusty and shit because he was a worker and shit. And that fool did look kind of dusty, low key. But he saw me in like shorts, like, and he's like, where's your blues at? What the fuck? Because I just had shorts and I had a white shirt on with shower shoes. He's like, where's your blues at? I told him I don't have any. What the fuck? The guy told him, he's like, where you coming from? I told him I'm coming from Nixon. And he's like, oh hell no, we're reaching toward the bottom of the barrel now. And so he really thought like they were fucking up, you know what I mean? But he ended up being cool after. But he wanted everybody to work. Like that was his thing. He wanted everybody to work. And he wanted everybody to work in the kitchen. And I was like, fuck that. The kitchen sucked. Because most cats that had been there, because the kitchen used to be Cleveland, but then it turned into Tyler when I was there. And the way it worked is if you had been there for a while, you're going to get in with the cook and you're going to get all the good positions. All that was left for cats like me that just got to Tyler was the service line, like when you serve the food, or washing dishes. Washing dishes fucking sucked. So I was like, fuck that shit. I ain't trying to do that shit. So I got stuck washing dishes like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, nah, fuck that shit. Like, I'm cool. And yeah, so that shit fucking was a trip. Dusty was cool. But I think one of the most memorable motherfuckers that I knew was a guy named Jack. He had told me stories like about his life and shit, how he got hired. He said that his car broke down when he was on his way to apply for the job, and it fucking he was running late, and he said most people would have probably quit, like fuck it, but now he said fuck it, like I'm gonna do this shit. So he ended up fixing his car, driving over there, and had like oil all over his hands, and told them that he was motivated. He really wanted the job, and he was going to do anything he can to get that job. It didn't matter what obstacles were in his way, right? I thought that was real dope as fuck. And they gave him the job. That's his story, at least. That's what he told me. And I thought that was dope as fuck. I was like, hell yeah, like that shit kind of pumped me up. He said a few things that pumped me up. That was another thing he said, that because when you go to parole, you have to convince them to let you out. And he tried to prepare us for that. These are the things you have to do. These are the things you have to say to get out. And he would always tell me, if you could convince 3 motherfuckers to let you out of jail, you could convince 1 motherfucker to give you a job, right? I always went into job interviews with that attitude. Like I'm going to game them up. And I'm not even gaming them up. I'm just letting them know, like, I'm qualified for this, and I'm more qualified than anyone else, and I'm going to tell you why. And I spit that shit. You know, they ain't gonna knock me down. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, he was real cool. He was real cool. The parole agent, I say, that had the most impact on me was Miss Hood, Miss Chen. She really looked out for me when I was on Monroe. Like I said, she got me out of a Nixon program. And then when I got to Tyler, she ended up being my parole agent there. She ended up going to Tyler. And she was real fucking cool. Like, she really liked me. You know what I mean? So, much love to her, because she saw something in me that probably I didn't even see in myself a lot of the times. And there were a lot of staff that said they were from neighborhoods, too. You had a homie named Macias. He was from Cam. I forgot there was a little short vato. Said he's from Bassett. He had the glasses. Old school cat. He's from Bassett. Like I said, Negrete. From Monteflores. You just had all kinds of cats. You know what I mean? So it was the trip. You had other cool ass staff that had like the white the YCOs, the youth correctional counselors, or officers, I mean, the security. You had Miss Luna. She was real cool. Miss Campos was real cool. Yeah, so it was a trip, man. You had some memorable staff there. You had some different personalities. And it was a trip. It really was. You also had the guy at the front. When you first get into the school area, there's a metal detector. There was a cat, I forgot his name, but he always wore sunglasses. Tall black homie and shit. Cool as fuck. That fool was cool. He would always chop it up with everybody. It seemed like he was having the motherfucking time of his life. You know what I mean? Like every day was a good day for him. And sometimes that was infectious. You could go in there pissed off, but you know, you see him smiling and having a good day. You're like, fuck it, man. And he was real cool with it. Real cool. So yeah, that's the memorable staff I have in there. I learned some lessons. You know, the good thing about YA is there's a number of different personalities in there. There's a gang of different personalities. You have to adapt. You have to understand who you're talking to. And it kind of prepares you for life because you have to deal with a gang of different people. It's not just gang members, you know what I mean? You have to deal with a gang of different people. And YA kind of prepared me for that, to deal with the different personalities. And like I said, Jack, he had a major influence now I think about it. He probably was the one staff. Well, maybe they were him and Miss Hood. They were the staff members that really had an impact on me and let me know that maybe I could change. And much love to them. If anyone knows who they are or where they're at, let them know I send mine. And with that, I'm out. Peace.